Hey folks, want to come on here and do a solo episode of the podcast. This one is going to be a bit about Ireland. The last one was about Christmas. And before I get into things, I'm still looking for a business to come on the show to sponsor. I mentioned on episode 12, I left my email, which is one of the most popular shows to date. So I'm just surprised that more business haven't been reaching out, but that is absolutely okay. I've been emailing and been chatting a bit. So yeah, you can put a watermark on the side, hats, glasses, and a hoodie. I also have a laptop and phone, and yeah, a beverage. Also, to be fair, I haven't been trying as hard as I probably need to get a sponsor. So I've just been focusing on the show and getting guests and putting out good work, I think. So hopefully all goes well. I want to chat a bit about Ireland today, as I've lived here for about 30 years, born in Dublin, Ireland, in Hollow Street. And in saying that, I was in Galway for a year, and then America and London, or Utah, and then London. Excuse me. So 27 years lived in Dublin, Ireland, or in Ireland. So I thought I'd come on and talk about today. Also, I'm going to be moving and relocating, still continuing the podcast to Sydney, Australia for a year. After the 4 years of taking a break for my health, I decided it'd be good to maybe restart somewhere else. So yeah, super excited. Hopefully pre-Christmas going to be heading over there and looking forward to see how that goes. I've never been to that part of the world. And yeah, I know the Rugby World Cup's on there in 2027, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes. And I think the Ashes are coming up. What else? Yeah, the Lions tour, the British and Irish Lions tour was there just earlier on in the year. Let me just check this for a sec. It's the Ashes. Australia. For any Americans or Canadians living out there, they may not, or Irish people, which is the top 5 most listened to places or geographies or locations that listen to the podcast. Yeah, they might not know what the Ashes are, but yeah, the Ashes is a cricket game or a cricket match between Australia and England, or a series. It's going to be in Perth, Brisbane, Adelaide, Melbourne, and Sydney. There's 5 different tests going from November. Oh, it's already started, my bad. Shows how much I know about cricket. I'm not really into it that much, but who knows, over time I may get more into it. But yeah, I think I'll just continue to talk about Ireland. And yeah, we'll get into that now. There's one more thing I thought I'd mention before we get into this. It'll come to me a bit about Australia. Yeah, if you know anyone there, or if you, I do have family friends, or I think any family members, I'll double check, friends over there. So in the meantime, yeah, if you know anyone that wants to chat, or if you know anyone that wants to meet up for a coffee, or potentially a swim, or I heard, yeah, I don't know about, there's like sharks in the water, so I don't know about surfing, maybe surfing. So we'll wait and see how things go. I'm open to new experiences. It's going to be, I was looking at the wildlife there, the kangaroos and koala bears and all sorts. So yeah, super exciting times. And yeah, I thought I'd get into a bit about Ireland today. A mystical place. I heard in the sauna not so long ago that Atlantis is off the coast of Ireland. So the city, the city that's underwater. Atlantis. Not like the Atlantis in Dubai, the water park and the Palm. Atlantis is off the coast. It's a Sunday morning or midday, so I'm taking things a little bit slower. While Atlantis is a mythical lost continent, several theories suggest Plato based its description on Ireland, citing geographical similarities and ancient Irish legends of submerged lands like High Brazil, with local myths even pointing to places like Kilstiffen off the cliffs of Moher, but most modern geographers consider it a myth without a real location. Theories linking Ireland to Atlantis, geographical match, Swedish, this is like Swedish geographer Ulf Erlingsson argued that Plato's measurements and landscape description of Atlantis perfectly match Ireland, suggesting Irish megalithic sites like Newgrange correspond to Athenian temples. Irish legends, ancient Irish texts mention lost islands and seafaring, and the myth of High Brazil, a phantom island west of Ireland, appeared on the maps for centuries. I think that's how you pronounce it, High Brazil, adding to the lore of a submerged land near Ireland shores. High Brazil, very interesting. Local folklore, legends near the cliffs of Moher. I've heard stories about, anyway, okay. Local folklore, legends near the cliffs of Moher speak of an ancient city, Kilstiffen, that appears from the beneath the waves with church bells and harps heard from below, further fueling Irish Atlantis idea. With connection, Plato's accounts, Plato described Atlantis as a island civilization that sank into the sea after a cataclysm, a narrative that some believe mirrored Ireland's geographical past or Celtic tales. Mapmakers' errors, the phantom island of High Brazil, cited and charted for centuries, likely resulted from misidentified distant lands or optical illusions, but became part of the Atlantis narrative. Expert consensus, most historians and archaeologists consider Atlantis a philosophical allegory by Plato, not a historical place. While the theories linking it to Ireland are intriguing, they remain speculative, and there's no scientific proof of a sunken continent off the coast of Ireland. Very good. I've had a bit of caffeine, and it's Sunday morning at midday, so which you already mentioned. Yeah, we'll get a bit into Ireland. We're 7 minutes in already. We haven't touched upon it too much, so we'll get into it now. Here is, I know I keep these solo episodes about 15 minutes, but I'm going to aim for about 15 to 30 minutes, so hopefully under 15, but we're already 7 in. So here's a clear, easy-to-read summary of the history of Ireland, from the early settlers to modern times. If you want a longer, more detailed version, just ask. The history of Ireland, a simple overview. I'm on ChatGPT here, so we'll just get into it. Hopefully not too much, just a bit. We touched upon Ireland yesterday with Christmas, and yeah, maybe we will touch upon the economic value that Christmas brings to Ireland. Maybe we won't. Maybe we'll just get to this. So the history of Ireland, a simple overview. Prehistoric Ireland, 8000 BC, first people arrive after the Ice Age. 4000 to 2500 BC, farming begins. Huge stone tombs, e.g. Newgrange, are built. 2500 to 500 BC, Bronze and Iron Age Celtic language and culture spread. Number 2, early Christian Ireland, 5th to 9th century. St. Patrick, traditionally 432 AD, spreads Christianity. Monasteries become centres of learning. Monks produce the Book of Kells. Ireland gains reputation as the island of saints and scholars. 3, Viking Ireland, 795 to 1100. Vikings raid, then settle. They found important towns: Dublin, Cork, Waterford, Limerick, Wexford. Irish and Viking cultures blend over time. 4, Norman invasion, 1169 onwards. Normans from Britain invade Ireland in 1169. Castles are built. Feudal laws introduced. English influence begins to grow. 5, English rule and plantations, 1500s to 1600s. The Tudor kings and queens of England take tighter control. Plantations bring English and Scottish settlers to Irish lands, especially Ulster. Gaelic chiefs lose power, tension rise between communities. 17th to 18th century conflicts. The 1641 rebellion, Cromwell's conquest, and Williamite wars reshape Ireland. Catholics lose land and rights under penal laws. Ireland becomes economic closely tied to Britain. 7. 19th century Ireland. 1801, Ireland becomes part of the United Kingdom. 1845 to 1849, the Great Famine causes enormous suffering. 1 million die, another million immigrate. Irish nationalism grows, seeking more independence. 8. Independence movement. 1900s to or not 1900 or 1900 to 1922. The 1960 Easter Rising sparks revolution. 1990 and 1921 War of Independence between Irish forces and British. 1921 Anglo-Irish Treaty creates the Irish Free State, splitting Ireland. Northern Ireland stays in the UK. Southern Ireland remains limited independence. 9. Irish Civil War, 1922 to 1923. Irish fighters split over the treaty. After the war, the Free State stabilises and develops. 10. The Republic of Ireland, 1937 to present. In 1937, the new constitution names the state Ireland heir. That's an E for the I or E. 1949, if those of you are listening from abroad or not in Ireland. 1949, Ireland becomes a republic. Late 20th century, economic challenges and the rapid growth, the Celtic Tiger. Modern Ireland, known for tech, culture and strong ties to Europe. 11. Northern Ireland, 1920 to present, remains part of the UK. 1960s to 1998, the Troubles, conflict between nationalists and unionist communities. 1998, Good Friday Agreement brings peace and shared government. If you want, I can give you a much shorter version, a kid-friendly summary, time frame for school, or deep dive into Vikings. Maybe we'll get into that in a sec, but it's pretty interesting to know that this country has been through a lot over the last, since it's 18,000 BC when the first people arrived after the Ice Age. And Newgrange, it's been through famine, it's been through a civil war, and I think maybe poverty as well. I wouldn't say poverty, but the Celtic Tiger, economic challenges. So a kid-friendly summary to touch upon for a sec. You won't get into it too much. For those of you, it's kind of sparked my interest talking about Ireland with the rise of Ireland football recently. Hopefully they can qualify for a World Cup. We'll get into this a bit, not too much, because I already mentioned there is another podcast that touches upon economics, but just a clear overview of the economy of Ireland, its key, including its history, key industries, and modern trends. Economy of Ireland overview. Ireland is a high-income, developed country and a member of the European Union, EU. Its economy is known for being open, export-oriented, and with many multinational companies based there. Currency, euro. I won't get into too much. Historical background, 19th century, mostly agricultural, with small farms. 1845 to 1849, Great Famine, devastated population and agriculture. Early 20th century, economy slowly modernized after independence, 1922. 1980s, high unemployment and immigration, Celtic Tiger, era number 3. 1990s, 2000, rapid economic growth due to foreign investment, low corporate taxes and EU membership. Key sectors, tech, pharmaceuticals, finance. Growth brought higher wages, urbanization and modern infrastructure. Number 4, modern Irish economy, key sectors. Number 1, technology and IT. Ireland has become home to Google, Facebook, Apple, Microsoft and other tech giants. Dublin is a European tech hub. Number 2, pharmaceuticals and medical devices. Many major pharma companies have production plants in Ireland. Number 3, finance and services, banking, insurance, and international financial services are strong. Number 4, agriculture and food, exports, beef, dairy, and beverages, especially whiskey and beer. Tourism, attractions, Dublin, Cliffs of Moher, castles, and cultural heritage. Number 5, trade. Ireland's economy depends heavily on exports, especially to the EU. And US, main exports, pharmaceuticals, computers, machinery, and food products. Number 6, challenges, housing costs and property prices in cities are high. Dependence on multinational companies makes Ireland vulnerable to global economic shifts. Brexit affected trade with the UK, a major trading partner. Number 7, key facts. 2024 to 2025 estimates, GDP per capita 85,000 euros, a very high due to multinational presence. I think it's in the top 5 globally. GDP per capita, unemployment 4 to 5%, inflation modern but rising in recent years. Ireland is often, I'll get to GDP per capita in a second. I don't want to make this fully about economics because there is another podcast out there in Ireland about economics. Ireland is often seen as a small but globally connected economy, combining modern tech and services with traditional agriculture and a strong export base. Yes, try to get this. We're in 15 minutes now, so we'll try to get under 25 minutes. There's a few things I've noticed about Ireland over the last while. I hope you don't mind me just getting into it a bit. One thing is, we already talked about the economy, and I suppose, let me just get into this for a sec. The GDP per capita is the way to measure the average economic output or wealth of each person in a country. So you could say that Ireland is almost become a very wealthy place. Top 10 in the world. Let me just get into this. Yeah, you have top 10 countries by GDP per capita. You have number 1, Singapore. Number 2, Luxembourg. Number 3, Macau, SAR, China. Number 4, Ireland. Number 5, Qatar. And then Norway, Switzerland, and a few other countries. Brunei Darussalam. I've maybe got that way off. Guyana and the United States. That changes depending on. I've looked up a number of different rankings, but yeah, seems like a pretty wealthy place at the moment. Something that I also didn't realize is there's a ranking for food quality globally as well. I realized when I came back from the United States that the food quality in Ireland, even like the Centra or the local shop, is a lot higher than that in other countries. I think if I go here, if I go to this one, this rank, excuse me, for those who don't know, I'm on ChatGPT looking at computer screens. So, countries ranking high for food quality / food security 2022 to 2025, according to the most recent data available, notably the Global Food Security Index, GFSI 2022 edition. Number 1 is Finland. What stands out, high across affordability, availability, food quality and safety, and sustainability. Number 2, Ireland. Strong overall food security score, good affordability, availability, food safety standards, and there's Norway, France, and the Netherlands. So we score second in the world for food quality and food security, which is pretty mad, I think. Just goes to show that maybe it's the farmers doing great work, or maybe it's just, or maybe it's something else. But either way, it's pretty cool. There are 195 countries in the world today, which I was going to say roughly around 200, but 193 members of the UN. So it's pretty cool that we rank second in the world for that. And there's one other thing. There was GDP per capita, wealth of the per person or wealth of the place. There is food security, and there's something that I came across as well over the last while about Ireland. There's a index out there called the GPI, which is the Global Peace Index, which measures how peaceful a country is based on multiple indicators. And here's a clear explanation. It's an annual rank of countries according to the level of peace developed by the Institute for Economics and Peace, IEP. It looks at how safe and secure a country is, both internally and externally. And it uses 23 indicators this is how it measures it. The GPI is measured. 23 indicators divided into 3 groups. Number 1, ongoing domestic and internal conflict. Number of internal conflicts. Number of external conflicts. Level of organized violence. Number 2, societal safety and security. Homicide rate. Number of jailed people per 100,000. Political instability. Terrorism impact. Militarization. Military expenditure as a percentage of GDP. Number of armed services personnel. Weapons imports and exports. Each country gets a score. Lower scores equal more peaceful, higher scores equal less peaceful. Why GPI is important? It helps compare safety levels across countries. Useful for governments, NGOs, and travelers. Can show trends over time, whether global peace is improving or declining. Examples: the most peaceful countries in the world, 2024, 2025, are Iceland, New Zealand, Ireland, Denmark, and Austria. Least peaceful countries: Syria, Yemen, Afghanistan, South Sudan, and Iraq. Top 10 most peaceful countries. This is 20 minutes. Hope you get it sub 30. Yeah, Ireland ranked second. So Iceland ranked number 1. They have extremely low crime, no standing army, stable politics. Ireland have very low internal conflict, stable society, minimal violent crime. They're doing pretty well in the World Happiness Report, which we already chatted about in the previous episode. I think that's number 19. And yeah, so I suppose there's a couple of things I noticed about Ireland over the last while living here post global pandemic. I've been on a bit of a break for my health. But a really interesting to note is the future of Ireland. Where is it going over the next while? So let's just look up that for a moment. I won't get into it too much again. This isn't an episode on politics, or episode on economics, or let's look into it for a sec. Here's a reasoned look at what the future might hold for Ireland. It's likely opportunities, challenges, and where things might go over the next few decades. Nothing is certain, but recent data and forecasts give a sense of possible paths. What's going well? Ireland's strengths going into the future. Solid economic growth in the near term. According to recent forecasts by the European Commission, Ireland's GDP is expected to grow 10% to 10.7%, 11%, 10.7% in 2025, thanks to a strong export activity. Before stabilizing to more modest growth around 2.9 by 2027. Another forecast from consulting firm EY expects employment growth, jobs creation, stable inflation, 2%, and growth in domestic demand. Positive signals for households and the labour market. Investment in infrastructure and public services. Before I'll get into that maybe after. It keeps under 30 minutes. Investment in infrastructure and public services. Experts such as the OECD stress that improving infrastructure, affordable housing, and public service reforms would make Ireland's economy more resilient and improve living standards long term. The government's long-term planning document, Future 40 to 2065, sees the coming decade as a critical window. If used well via strategic investment, reforms, and diversification, it could help counter future headwinds. Demographic opportunities, if managed well. Medium scenario, I just won't get into this too much. Maybe I will. The medium scenario of Future 40 projects Ireland's population could grow to 6.8 million, which would be great in the coming decades, assuming continued net migration. I think it'd be great anyway. I think we lost like 1 million people in the famine, so... One sec, let me just... How many people were in Ireland before that? Ireland's population peaked at around 8.2 to 8.5 million people, according to the 1841 census. Census, and estimates around, I'd have to eat some food or have a bit more caffeine. Maybe just probably have to eat some food. For those who don't know, I'm fasting a bit in the morning, so excuse me if I'm a bit expansive or creative. And estimates for the mid-1840s, making it the highest population the island has ever recorded. The rapid growth was fueled by early marriage and land subdivision, but the famine, potato blight, and mass immigration dramatically reduced numbers, the population falling to under 6.6 million by 1851. So it'd be great to get that back up a bit, I think, anyway. Maybe I'm wrong. 6.8 million in the coming decades, assuming continued net migration and modern fertility. With proper labour market planning, education, training, attracting/retaining workers, this could help maintaining a robust workforce and support public services, mitigating some age-related demographic pressures. Modern economy and position in the global economy. Ireland's economy, especially sectors like tech, which we already talked about, technology, pharmaceuticals, exports and services, remain globally competitive. This gives it flexibility to adapt to challenges, invest in innovation, and attract foreign investment. There's a company called the IDA, which I think attract a lot of the investment for those of you that are outside of Ireland listening. The IDA is Ireland's Foreign Direct Investment Agency. We won't get into it too much, but it's an investment. The IDA Ireland is the investment promotion agency that helps multinational companies grow and expand into Ireland. So here we go. Challenges and risks. What could make the future harder? Aging population and long-term fiscal pressures. According to Future 40, over the coming decades, Ireland will see larger fiscal strain from an aging population, slower productivity growth, climate and environmental policy costs, and likely a drop in windfall corporation tax revenues that have buoyed the economy in recent years. We should look up how to pronounce this word. Sorry. Buoyed, excuse me. The economy in recent years. If these pressures aren't addressed, living standards improvement may slow, public finances could deteriorate, and the state's ability to support pensions, healthcare, and infrastructure could be constrained. Housing and infrastructure shortages. Gaps in housing supply, public transport, water, and other critical infrastructure remain a big issue. Without timely investment, they could hamper growth, quality of life, and ability to absorb population growth. Even though Ireland's economic base is strong now, long-term growth will require improving productivity, reducing labour and skill shortages, and increasing capacity across services, not just relying on foreign multinationals. Dependence on a small number of industries and global risks. Ireland's economy is relatively open and export-oriented, relying heavily on a mixture of multinationals, global trade. We already kind of talked about this. Export markets. This makes it sensitive to global economic shifts, trade tensions, and external shocks. If global demand drops or multinational firms shift strategies, they could hit corporate tax revenue and growth. Managing climate change, sustainability, and environmental pressures. As many countries, environmental changes, climate risk, energy transition, resource pressure will demand significant adaptation. The long-term economic and societal cost of climate mitigation, infrastructure retrofitting, and sustainable development will be significant, which goes on. I'll continue a small bit, or I will finish up here in a sec. What possible futures may look like. How Ireland fares will depend on a lot on which scenario plays out. Good policy plus investment versus status quo versus global disruption. Here are three broad paths. Scenario: smart and sustainable growth. What it looks like: Ireland uses this decade to invest heavily in housing, infrastructure, green energy, and education. Immigration and labour force growth continue. Productivity improves. Public finances remain stable. Ireland becomes a more self-reliant and resilient. Living standards rise steadily. Soft landing / adjustment. Growth slows in coming decades due to age, structure shifts, and external pressures. Ireland adjusts. More balanced immigration, incremental reforms, modest infrastructure expansion, careful fiscal management. Living standards grow slowly. Public services maintained but under pressure. I'm 28 minutes in, so I'm going to hurry this up. Risk and pressure: global shocks, trade disruption, climate stress, aging population, and housing crisis combined with major reforms. Public finances shrink. Services, health, pensions, housing come under strain. Inequality rises and economic vulnerability increases. What will make the future better? Key levers to watch. Forward-looking investment to housing, transport. I feel like I'm kind of repeating myself. Forward-looking about housing, transport, energy, and green infrastructure. Policies to boost productivity, skills training, adapt to automation, digitalization, support young people and immigrants, diversifying the economy, reducing overdependence in a few sectors, or external corporate tax windfalls. Strong societal policies, healthcare, pensions, social housing to meet needs of an aging and possibly growing population, environmental and climate policies. Balancing growth with sustainability. Jeez, we're nearly 30 minutes, but something I'll talk about another day is about Dublin, Ireland. I think it's now, this was one of the wealthiest cities in Europe, if not the wealthiest city in Europe. Also, it's scoring quite well on, I think, on livability index, and what could be better. And also there's derelict. There's a lot of properties, or there's a lot of houses in Ireland, or in Dublin, excuse me, that are a bit, that are abandoned, run down, or in decay. That's what I thought. Derelict Dublin, derelict buildings, abandoned or neglected structures. There's quite a bit, I think. So we'll get into that maybe another day, Dublin, Ireland. But yeah, we'll just leave it there. And I suppose the one thing, if you're looking to come to Ireland for a number of different reasons, my favourite time to go is around the Christmas period, or would be to go around the Christmas period, or the summertime is good. Maybe July, when the weather's nice. September tends to be a good month when the kids are back to school, but July, and I like Christmas. Yeah, and I thought I'd leave it there. I just wanted to follow up on the Christmas podcast. And if you have any questions, feel free to send me a message on social media or email on episode 12. And the one thing is, feel free to visit Ireland. It's a fun place with GPI. Food quality is high. And the last one was, GDP per capita. It's quite a wealthy place per person, or a wealthy place. So, thought I'd leave it there, and feel free to visit. Thanks.